walls. All right.
So Dr. Williams, where are we heading now?
This is the gateway to Heritage. It's supposed to celebrate the Jefferson Street community. There are three themes that run throughout this place. One is education, so you're going to see some pillars that deal with Fisk University, with TSU and Meharry. Then you'll see stuff that deals with the entertainment side of it. So you'll see a lot of entertainers, a lot of storefronts. Then you have civil rights. So you have some of our civil rights icons and our politicians. It's a space where you can get the history. It's a celebration, but it's also kind of problematic for me because you're celebrating stuff that the city actively destroyed. Club Del Morocco sat right over there.
Oh, really?
So you could come here and there's a famous photograph of Jackie Robinson and Roy Campanella eating fried chicken over there.
Didn't Jimi Hendrix play at the Del Morocco?
He played. He actually lived at a space, an apartment that was right next to the Del Morocco.
Oh,
now we got tall and skinnies there, right? This strip is full of history, full of culture. Ray Charles was driving a Cadillac down Jefferson Street.
Right.
It turns out he had some guy down there pushing the gas and the brakes, and the other guy sitting next to him telling him which way to steer. This wall, these murals, were painted by James Thrillkill and Michael McBride. This is what I was referencing earlier when I was saying, just finding different ways to tell this story, to portray the past. It's a wall that portrays Black life, Black joy, and memories.
Can it be this again?
Let me preface this by saying this. I'm a historian, so most of my view of the future is going to be kind of jaded because I know what we are capable of. Many of the people that lived in the spot, that animated the space, they've transitioned and their children have gone on. And then you got to think of how valuable this real estate is. This across the street is the future. But the question becomes, who are you building this for? This new group that are coming in, or you're trying to do something that's going to welcome the residents that are here now? And neighborhoods and community, they're just like people, right? They're born, they reach adolescence, they mature, then they either die or they become something else. But I think the important question, one that needs to be answered, is what it's going to become and who's going to make the decision about what it will look like.
So coming from Richmond, where we just took the statues down, the common phrase was, "You're erasing history." As a historian, how frustrating is that?
Very frustrating because statues aren't history. Statues are a representation of what the people put up value, right? And a lot of those statues are ahistorical. That is, the history that you're trying to tell with them is bad history or is fables.
Did the interstate basically erase Jefferson Street's history?
It's a monument to the erasure. The guys that erased it was the ones that looked at it and said, okay, this will be a good spot to run the interstate. We'll run it through North Nashville at 2 different points. I can take you to a spot where the erasure is blatant. You go down 12th Avenue North, And if we're traveling south, you look to the left, you see a chain link fence. People lived all up and down that street, but they're gone. It's almost as though somebody got a scouring pad and just rubbed them off the face of the earth. And we're actually telling the world lies about what happened there. I love this place because it's a celebration of the past. But by that same token, in my mind, it's a monument in many ways to what was destroyed, what was removed.
Dr. Williams, so this is one of the many murals right here on Jefferson Street, but what exactly are we looking at here?
What's it painted on?
This is the Elks Lodge, formerly known as Club Baron.
Yeah, when we cover it, we can go back up there.
This is, unless I'm mistaken, the last of the nightclubs, the last standing of all of the nightclubs that dominated Jefferson Street. This space is also the site of one of the most classic guitar battles in the history of the city. I'll tell y'all what I heard. I'm sitting in the barbershop and we're talking and I said, well, okay, who really won that battle? Johnny got him because Hendrix had a cheap amp that night. and the other guy says, there wasn't anything wrong with that amp. You know, Hendrix says that this is where he actually mastered his craft. And one of the stories in Nashville is, you know, thousands of people came here with a guitar on their back and a dream in their hearts, and then they end up working at some restaurant somewhere. Hendrix was not that. And you know, I didn't even realize that he was associated with Jefferson Street till I got here and started talking to people. And you know, there's still some good music come out of this building. I saw, but there was a lady that was in here that was playing the electric guitar. And she got it and started picking it with her teeth.
Huh.
Very Hendrix.
Yeah.
And then she put it behind her back and
There you go.
started.
Oh my gosh, like an homage.
Yeah, and she was killing it. And she was the only one out there on the stage that night. So I left her thinking, I was like, wow, man, it must be something spiritual about playing a guitar in this space.
Oh my gosh, yes. I love you pointed out the detail of the purple haze.
Yeah.
Somebody may have lost, but somebody still won. It's still purple.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, with Nashville growing as fast as it is, North Nashville feels like the place if you want to go and jump on in when it's on its upturn. But then the problem is, who jumps in? Developers jump in.
Yeah.
And then, so how do you hold on? How do you hold on to the history of this, you know? And then we talked to the music folks, a lot of music folks, and anyway, one businesses come in, but next thing you know, it's going to be, how do you protect it? Keep it, or should you? I don't know.
Well, first of all, walking up to this thing, man, wow.
That's a big space. Exactly how big is that?
I think it's around close to 4,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the biggest wall I've done so far.
Did you have to go back and buy more paint?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did have to go back
Repeatedly?
and buy. Yes, maybe like 3 or 4 times.
You know, what was your dream when you saw that wall before? And
Since high school, you know, I've been like doing like graffiti, and I used to always just think the neighborhood was a little dull with some of these old buildings. And the way that this even started was because we were all at Angel's house having a community meeting. Her sisters, some of her friends, people she worked with, some people from the community. And we would just have like these conversations about like the neighborhood. So, you know, we had the pandemic, the tornado had come through, we had the protests and things were going on. And
Christmas Day bomber.
it was just a lot going on in the world, or I know in this country. But this wall is something that I would always look at and be like, man, it's just a big blank wall. And like, if somebody was to paint that, they could use it as some kind of, you know, an opportunity to speak to the whole neighborhood.
Dr. Williams, what does this represent, would you say, to the community?
a monument to what Jefferson Street was. This is a history lesson in a way that I can't replicate in the classroom. And I get maybe 50 minutes a day with 25 students. I think about how many cars come past here every day and see this legacy. So this is something, and I remember coming through and thinking, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And when I found out Woke's name was attached to it, I was like, okay, I know this is gonna be fire. And finally, as you come through here, and I don't want to get too far gone here, but you see everything that we associate with North Nashville here. I pick up something new every time I come here. I don't know, this is representative of the people that I know and have come to love in North Nashville. This wall memorializes this. We're gonna be talking about these brothers like we talk about Aaron Douglas or Hiram Gordon before it's all said and done. And I'm just grateful that this is something that's done out in the public, something that belongs to North Nashville.
Well, do you worry that this will not be here someday?
I've talked to the owners and things. We've kind of come to agree for this to be up at least 10 years. Like, it has something that has to be, it's something that has to be to live with the community for a long period of time. It is something that is for this community, and I wouldn't want to see this right here go away in like 4 years. You know, it just wouldn't sit right with me. This is one of those pieces that the community like deserves to have, and you know, it belongs to us. Oh, and I have to say, man, those words. Thank you. I appreciate you for that. Yes, I appreciate you.
Y'all have a good relationship, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
I'm his biggest fan. Right?
I guess that's a recurring theme I've heard quite a bit, Dr. Williams. There's a lot of reference to the elders and the people that came before. I mean, this street and this area it's got a really deep, rich history, but it doesn't seem to be lost on people. It feels like the younger folks like Woke, the people that we've met, you know, get it. And I guess that goes to the teachers and the teaching and the art that institutionalizes it. So really what you guys are creating here, I think is, you know, fantastic.
One really strong thing about it is it's accessible. You don't have to pay a couple of grand to hear me drone on in a classroom. You can come out here and get whatever you get from the art. I teach courses that explore African American history and African American memory. But oftentimes that's an exploration of amnesia, collective amnesia, what the city has forgotten or marginalized. And we look for histories, we mine the archives for memories that might be just below the surface, and we amplify them. Hooked up with some of our fantastic poets on campus, and I'll have something I just can't find the words for, and I'll say, okay, this is what happened here, y'all. Wow. Tell me what it means. I'm not much of a singer. I can't sing at all, right? I'll be honest.
Welcome to this club.
Yeah, exactly.
But I can remember every Black History Month going to the James Weldon Johnson house and starting off the month by singing, walking around and singing, lift every voice and sing. But finally I had a student who actually volunteered. She said, like, I'll go over there and sing it for you. And she did. She sung all 3 verses independently, and then she sung them together. But it made me look for different ways to tell our stories. Because I'll be honest, I'm getting a little bit older now, and I don't know how much longer I have to do what I do. So we need some younger memory keepers out there to tell stories that are marginalized, that are have been erased from our collective memories.
Why is that song so powerful personally for you?
Well, particularly when you sing it in February, because I know that African Americans all over the country, if not all over the world, are singing this song.
Yeah.
And you know, we sing it before every football game here. Everybody sings the first verse. Not sure how many people know the second verse, but but it's something that unites us across generation and across distances. And of course, James Weldon Johnson was professor at Fisk University, so that gives it a deeper significance because we're singing a song that was written by a guy and his brother who were intimately connected with historically black colleges and universities.
You mentioned Fisk, we're here at TSU, but HBCUs overall, I mean, can you give us just a little context of where they come from, where TSU come from, and what's really important about that, you know, the HBCUs overall?
First HBCU was actually up north, Cheney University, and they oftentimes look at these institutions as being spaces initially where we could demonstrate that African Americans were fully human and capable of doing anything that whites could do. The ones that emerge during Reconstruction, in many ways, those institutions are monuments to our struggle for equality. And they're spaces that we own, that we can just celebrate and be ourselves authentically. One of the most arresting pieces of architecture in this city is Jubilee Hall. It's a monument to African American history, African American culture, because that song was paid for by the songs that our ancestors lifted up out of the cotton fields and the tobacco fields. This was an articulation of our spirit, of our hope for the future. And we got a monument that was raised up by those songs. You know, here in the Music City, Fisk Jubilee Singers were the very first international touring group to come out of this city. So when we look at our schools, whether it be Fisk that opened in 1866, and you got TSU in 1912, Meharry moves over here right before the Great Depression. These become spaces that exemplify, in many instances, black excellence, but also hope for the future. Meharry is still cranking out the majority of black doctors in this country. HBCUs collectively are producing most of the black professional class. Collectively, the students at these HBCUs radically transformed how we define democracy, how we determine what freedom actually meant. You know, these are anchor points. It's on a stage where one of the greatest stories in American democracy played out. It's a Nashville story, and it's an American story, and it's a story.
We're right here at the beginning, or at the end, I guess, of Jefferson Street. But talk about this area of Nashville.
As I sit here and talk to you, I think about Stokely Carmichael being here in 1967 and giving a speech, and then a few days later, Nashville erupts in a riot that they tried to blame on him, right? I think about Bernard Lafayette coming here after Z. Alexander Luby's house has been bombed. He comes here trying to figure out what to do, trying to make sense of what went on. Then I can imagine somebody saying, well, we need to talk to the mayor. So about 1,500 gather here and they walk down Jefferson Street. They pick up Fisk students at the corner of D.B. Todd and Jefferson, and they march a little bit further. And then you got high school students from Pearl High School, they're there. Then by the time they reach the public square, there were well over 3,000 students there. And the thing that's really important about that is that they were quiet. And we're here today and it's kind of noisy, but I can't even imagine what it must have been like watching these students march 3 by 3 down Jefferson Street, and the only thing you're hearing are the sounds of their feet. So they finally make it to the public square where Diane Nash confronts Ben West and asks him if he believes that it's okay to discriminate against a person, you know, just because they're black, and he replies no. This opens the door to the integration of the lunch counters here in Nashville. But having said that, there was still a lot more to do, right? Because the walls didn't just come tumbling down with a shout. We recently been working on a historical marker at Centennial Park, where there was a pool there where one of our former students tried to integrate, and the city of Nashville responded by filling up the swimming pool. Okay, and then they went on to shut down every single pool in the city. Yeah. So it's like, because they tried to integrate the pool, nobody was going to swim in Nashville that summer. This site is a little bit more than a site with a gym where our basketball teams used to kick butt. It's a site that's a bit more important than, you know, just a site with a T-38 hovering above us. This is one of the sites that define freedom in its truest sense of the word here in Nashville.
None of this was very far in the past.
No,
I mean,
because
all of you've known people that were involved very much in that, you know, the civil rights movement.
you know, as older folks, we lament the status of our young folks, and as young folks, we try to slay our parents, not literally, but you know, we're going to recreate the world because they don't know anything about what's going on now. But there are some similarities there that show that these folks are thinking along these same lines. Mm-hmm. So what it revealed to me is that, you know, there's a connection between what occurred here in the 60s and then what we observe here today. I think those parts of the narratives are very, very important to tell. And it needs to be done a little bit more, it needs to be done in a better way. It can't just be me in a classroom lecturing. It needs to be, in some instances, done out in the streets with some of these fantastic artists we have in the city.
There's so much more to explore, and we want you to join us on The Good Road.
For more in-depth content, meet us on the internet at thegoodroad.tv.
Hear more great stories, connect to organizations, and make sure you download our podcast, Philanthropology.